Hey everyone, welcome to the Roger Report Public Edition for February 2019. In this month's newsletter, you're going to see us diving deep into what the exchanges in the cryptocurrency space are doing in relation to the public markets. We're going to talk about JP Morgan's efforts. We're going to talk about partnerships that NASDAQ has established with cryptocurrency projects, cryptocurrency exchanges, and what this means for the overall market. So I highly recommend that you subscribe to the newsletter by clicking the link below this video. If you're already a subscriber, check your email for your newsletter and take a deep dive in. In this video today, I really want to talk about some of the macro market things that are going on so we can get an understanding about the movement of the cryptocurrency markets moving forward this year. So there were some big things that happened in January. Now, they were big in that we've been expecting them to happen, but they were quiet in that they didn't really create much impact. And it's probably because it's going to take some time for that impact to take place. The first one was the T0 platform launching. This was an idea started in about 2014 by Patrick Prying of Overstock. It's been much anticipated as the primary driver of the STO or security token offering that is publicly traded companies listing on blockchain-based exchanges. It's kind of been a lackluster test launch. Right now, it's only open to accredited investors. It's moving very slow. Registration's been a little lagging. They've had some issues with support. And then a lot of the initial investors in the project are still waiting for their tokens to be released. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, it's the transformation of this market into more of the regulated side of the industry, i.e. Publicly traded, meaning registered with the SEC and all of the appropriate entities in order to trade an equity-based asset. Much anticipated as one of those three things that we're looking for major forward market momentum, but it's happening really slow. The idea is that market will open up to the general public sometime between August and October later this year. So for those that are involved in the project now or working as new registrants or previous investors, it's very slow going as this market comes together. You're also still dealing with the liquidity issues that relate to if people invested in a project a year ago when the asset they invested with, say a Bitcoin or Ethereum, was at an all-time high, the relative value of the asset that they bought at that time, once it comes to market, although it may see a 50% decrease in value over the first day, it still could be 2 to 3 times higher value than the asset that was initially used, i.e. if Ethereum was $1,000 when you invested, now it's at 100, you've got that margin in between those two if you're looking at an asset-to-asset valuation. Now, if you're starting to look at it as a USD peg valuation, no matter what you look at, there's definitely a spread between profitability on those assets. Why is this important? Well, what were the big three that we were looking for forward momentum in the overall cryptocurrency markets? It was the maturity or the initial launch of the securitized token market. It was the ETF, and it was the futures contracts. So we're looking right now that the ETF, there's new filings with the SEC over a couple different ETFs. There were a lot of them on the docket that ended up pulling their applications in January because of the government shutdown and then refiling again. There's this I don't want to quote the wrong number of days, but there's a specific day window from a filing to a decision that if it's missed for any reason, it could create an automatic rejection for an ETF. And that automatic rejection would make it much harder to start over than just canceling the application and restarting when the government's up and running. With future government shutdowns right in front of us again, we have to look at whether or not that's going to have an adverse effect on Q1 or Q2 market readiness of those types of assets. The futures exchange coming from BAC, the owner, which is owned by ICE, which owns the New York Stock Exchange, is again talking about a release in the first half of this year. It's kind of a who's going to come first, the ETF or the futures contracts. Now, there are some futures contracts out there, but we're talking about Bitcoin settled futures contracts, not dollar-denominated future contracts that are just using a peg to the price of Bitcoin, but actually have no impact on the price of Bitcoin, i.e. Buyers and sellers don't need to hold the tangible asset in order to participate in that. Those are the big three that we're looking for catalysts and forward momentum for this market. That catalyst, once it hits, is going to come quick. That's why we're always looking at, if we were going to be playing in this market and we are specifically trying to play one of those three. Now, the securitized tokens are in of themselves their own assets and not necessarily a driver of the value of Bitcoin. But both Bitcoin ETFs and Bitcoin future contracts will have forward momentum on the price of Bitcoin, why it's always the most highly recommended coin to have in your portfolio if you're going to participate in this industry at all. That's a general consensus of all market professionals. Now, we don't dive into recommendations for individual projects, but we always say if you're going to be in crypto and you don't want to deal with any of the other associated risks or market issues that may arise, Bitcoin is the easiest way to play the market. There is no word safe. It is very speculative still at this point, but with those forward momentum items for calendar year 2019, you're going to be looking at having Bitcoin in your portfolio. Now, that always gives me a lead into why we're doing this with Equity Trust. We are firm believers in the Equity Trust digital asset platform. I would highly recommend that you download their PDF guide on cryptocurrency investing to get greater insight into how they see this market maturing and what assets are available to trade on their platform, giving you a deeper understanding of the industry. Now, we've looked at some macroeconomics. We've looked at some forward momentum pricing elements inside of the market. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the market other than that. One of the biggest pieces of news to come out in the last 30 days was the Canadian exchange, whose owner died with the only key to the cold storage of about $190 million worth of assets. It is kind of mind-boggling that this is still possible in a little bit more mature exchange market. It also goes to show you how a one-man operation out of Canada for a Canadian exchange can launch and get $190 million in assets under management without any proper security or proper fail-safes for key man or end-of-life style turnover. That piece of news has just been floating around everywhere. On the other side, we have seen some fluctuations. There was a little bit of downward momentum in pricing across the board towards the end of January. And as February rolled around, we started to see a little bit of forward momentum in that pricing. Not a lot. Mostly in the big cap coins saw a little bit of movement. We're still seeing Ethereum trying to find its footing and looking at some new reports that have come out on the securitized token side of the world and where Ethereum's place will be relative to other tokens that are out there that can be used for the creation of these types of assets. With the different chains, side forks that are available in order to create customization in Ethereum, it still looks to be a potential leader for the securitized token revolution that is just starting, is just upon us. Remember, T0 said that they're going to test this methodology for about 6 to 8 months to make sure that the platform works, that they've got all of the bugs figured out. And during that time, they're going to list approximately 60 more publicly traded companies on their platform. So when this platform becomes available to the general public towards the end of 2019, that there will be 60 assets trading on it. Why is this important? There's an often undiagnosed problem, this is my personal opinion, in the public markets in the United States. Over the last 20 years, the number of companies that are trading publicly, i.e. on major exchanges such as the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ, has fallen by greater than 50%. Most professionals, or industry professionals, would blame that on the increase in the regulatory body's oversight of these types of projects listing. Now, they say it's in the best interest of investors to create that protective barrier to make it cost $1 million or more just to get a filing to go public. Right now, a lot of these companies that are getting ready to go public on some of the major securitized token platforms, i.e. they're doing Reg CF, Reg D, Reg A raises, they can do that for like $5,000, $10,000, and in some cases $25,000. So if you look at the normal path to an IPO, which just $1 million in regulatory filings, let alone all of the consulting fees that you're going to have to pay to the major banks, all of the money that you're going to have to spend on your roadshow. A properly done Reg A can be done for $100,000, a Reg CF for $5,000, in between for a Reg D, $12,000 to $25,000. And that's using lawyers. That's not using cookie cutter, print off the internet paperwork, which no one would ever recommend. Some people still try to do it, but it gives you a good idea of how viable the securitized token market could possibly be when it looks at the cost efficiencies to come to market, while the SEC is finally releasing new documentation on their view of the ICO, which was the initial coin offering. So the initial coin offering was the major way that projects raised funds in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space, circa 2017, and then kind of the collapse in 2018. It's led to a lot of regulatory investigations. It's led to a lot of criminal charges, and it's led to a maturation of the market into the STO, or the securitized token offering, which we believe is going to be laying its foundation in 2019 and give us a nice run in 2019, 2020. So keep an eye out for that. We appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you download the newsletter. We've got a ton of great news with articles about each and every coin that you can trade on the Equity Trust digital asset platform. Some big macro news. We covered 2 of those stories. There's at least 6 or 7 more that you can dive into. Once you subscribe, you'll get a copy of this newsletter for absolutely for free each and every month going forward, helping you stay up to date with what's going on in the markets. Peace.